Okay, so there was the elections in Greece, and it's really I love it. I think it's so fascinating how the European politics are playing out at the moment because you had the right wing successful against Francois Hollande and the socialists in France. So that was the right wing. You have the right wing growing with UKIP in the UK and England. You have, so believe it or not, a little bit of a, granted, things are going pretty well in Germany, but there's actually recently a little bit of a right wing movement in Germany, of all places. With the terrorist attacks in France, they were reacting to the Islamization of Europe. At the same time, you have a far move to the left in Spain. There's a party called Podemos, We Can. That's kind of, it was actually a subset of the Occupy movement that spread to the United States, and they are, and I swear half the Spanish that I talk to right now are really interested in Podemos, and they say like, if we can just wait it out until our next elections and Podemos gets in power, things will be better. Uh, and so now you've got, I don't know what the government is in Italy at the moment, but so you've got Spain moving left, presumably you got Italy moving to the left, and Greece now has made the biggest jump to the left of any European country, like out of any of them. Like their government. Did you say that? I didn't know that Spears was openly communist. I don't know about that, but
Okay, that might be going a little bit. I thought I heard communist or far. He's a left wing, far left
he's
party.
far left wing at the minimum. Which, to call someone far left wing in Europe says a lot about their policies. But I mean, ultimately, the people didn't vote for him because they were like the people of Greece aren't necessarily openly leftist. The people of Greece, I'm assuming they share the attitudes of the Spanish, which is that they're just so sick of being stuck in the same place. I mean, theoretically, according to headlines, Europe and the United States and Western economies are doing better than they were. There's growth in every economy, at least by a little bit. But while the headlines spell good things for the future, like the reality in places like Greece is that unemployment is off the charts and hasn't budged, and at current growth rates wouldn't recover for a century. And the same thing here in Spain. And the idea that they could just keep electing the same parties regardless of their political persuasion is asinine. People are just reaching for something different, and so we're gonna have to see how this plays out.
Well, that's okay. This is Wikipedia, and
Yeah.
you know Wikipedia is always right on everything.
Yes. I mean, it's pretty
Looking up
good.
his party, they're called um his party is called how do you pronounce his name again? Sisporus or
Spiros? I don't know.
Sisporus?
Sorry, dude. I don't know how to say your name. It looks like
Sisporus.
to Cyprus or Cyprus maybe, like Cyprus, Cyprus.
His group's called the Coalition of the Radical Left. Um, uh, and as you say, their tagline, their slogan is "We open a way to hope."
Yeah.
So that kind of goes in with what you're saying. People are looking for. They've a lot of governments have been doing the austerity thing for a couple, for a few years, for a little bit, and I think over in Greece, their attitude kind of seems. I think people are worried about. Uh, they're worried about this crisis undoing the welfare state over there.
Yeah.
And to what extent they have a welfare state in Greece, I'm not entirely sure of.
Mm. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the welfare state in Greece. I know that there was made headlines last year when, or maybe it was a couple years ago, back when we were doing the Spectrum News podcast. But remember, Greece like decided they would fire some people, some government employees, finally fire some people who had missed like the equivalent of a year's worth of work without excuse. So it's
Shit.
I don't know if there's no welfare state in Spain. That's the irony of all of this is that there's like the American stereotype of Europe is this like fairyland of welfare recipients is just not true in Southern Europe. In Southern Europe, it's just people when they don't have work, they go moving with their parents if they're young, and if they're not, able to do that and move in with family, they're homeless. Like I was talking to my friends who had been in here in Madrid. They had been here in years before the crisis, and they said now, like the number of people begging on subways and metros is astronomically higher than it was. And I mean, and this is here in the capital where things economically aren't as desperate as they might be in the south. So I mean,
They
yeah,
don't
people are
have they
desperate.
don't
People are just desperate.
okay, and I don't mean to say like I'm not using the word welfare state in any sort of like a disparaging term. But they don't have like universal health care or a dole system over in Spain or anywhere else in Southern Europe.
In Spain, it's a mixture. It's a little bit more like Germany, where you've got government-run hospitals, you've got private insurance if you so choose. For example, at the moment, I'm insured the government pays for my insurance at the private insurance company.
Okay, so
Yeah, but I work for
that's
the
kind of the
government,
direction we're going over here too.
so it's a bit similar. And a lot of Spaniards talk about the privatization of healthcare as a bad thing. But I think ultimately they're making moves to look a little bit more like Germany. And But yeah, like it's not like France where you just got government run or England where you've got the NHS and government run insurance. It's just like it's there's the welfare state is not or I guess you weren't trying to be despective. That's not a word. Derogatory with that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying like a communist system, but I got another way of looking at it would be like maybe benefits they get through government services. Let's call it
Yeah.
that, government
Well,
services.
to go back to Greece, I'm of the opinion, and maybe I'm making an ass of myself if I'm wrong here, but I think that either Greece sees growth or Greece leaves the eurozone and leaves the European Union. Like and it might not be in the near future. This could be something that has to develop over a decade or 2 decades. But the status quo is just not acceptable. They have to have growth at some point. There has to be growth. Or you got a generation of people who aren't working and they're making their way through their 20s and moving into their 30s. And if there was growth now and they could start working then and have some sort of normalcy, then things might be better and they might be able to continue along. But I mean, like until that happens, these leftist groups are going to keep winning, and then if that doesn't work, then it's going to get even crazier. The right wing, I'm sure, will do. If the left wing is unsuccessful, then the right wing is going to be successful. The extremes.
Well, and I guess that's a question. Like youth unemployment is always higher than the rest of the average. But even before like the even before like the 2007 or I'm sorry 2008 financial crisis, Europe had on average European countries, yeah, France, Germany, most countries seem to have higher unemployment rates than the United States. Um,
Except for Germany.
and
Germany's lower than the U.S.
Okay, German is lower. Okay, okay. Let me rephrase it then. The UK, France, I'm just wondering, what is the reason for that? I think it has to go. I think it has to go. Maybe calling a welfare state is a little bit more. It doesn't really describe what's going on over there. But I would have to say it has to. It would have to do something with the benefits that workers receive from their jobs
And
over there.
let me
Um,
explain that a little bit because I have some firsthand anecdotes on that note.
okay.
Because the last time I was in Germany, I actually went into this. My girlfriend and I went into like this tattoo piercing shop, just kind of looking around, just exploring the town. And there was a guy in there, and he was speaking German with us with kind of a funky accent. And I realized that when he was saying words, like he was saying certain English words in the middle of his sentences and things. So I asked him if he was American. Totally was. He was this ex-soldier, ex-marine from New York City. Uh,
Huh.
he's a really cool guy, and and he owned the tattoo parlor. He had found a way to stay after his tour in Germany. And what made it really interesting was that he was saying like having a small business is really tough in Europe, in Germany, because as soon as you hire someone, you have to start doing insurance. You have to start like giving vacation time, and then the bar is set a lot higher. Now, to be fair to Germany, they have a lower unemployment rate right now than the U.S. does. So the point I'm making here is that that doesn't necessarily preclude a strong economy or a lower unemployment rate to have strong worker protections. That being said, another reason that it might have and there's the opposite end of that as well. In the U.S., maybe the unemployment rate's lower, but what are the jobs that these people have? Are they working at like a job that has to do with their level of education, their level of skill, and their experience, or are they working some sort of barely above minimum wage job? And we're just checking the box that you're employed. You're not unemployed. You're working at Walmart for 20 hours a
Hmm.
week. Um,
Yeah, and okay, I'm not saying. I guess there are. I'm trying to identify. I'm not saying that there aren't good things. There wouldn't be benefits to living in an entitlement system like that. Once again, not using the word
entitlement
disparagingly, but maybe having a system that offers more perks
benefits.
or benefits.
Or just a
Um,
basic level of like you are a person. You're not defined by your job. Like I mean, in Germany, like for example, one of the strongest economies in the world right now. Everything's closed on Sunday because they say everyone should have at least one day off, and that's not even something that we can say in the USA. Even though we have weekends, we that nobody. If you're working in a low end retail job, good luck getting a day off.
well, I mean, well, think about it. I would say it's there are trade-offs. I mean, would you rather give everybody one day off out of the week, or would you rather deal with less jobs for everybody to go around, even if those are there are trade-offs to it. Um, and I think even if there are benefits, I mean there are benefits to having an entitlement system like that, or more government services. That's one of the drawbacks. Is that you make it more expensive to hire people, um, and that especially affects younger people as well. And of course, not saying that there aren't benefits to that. But that's you can't have it both ways. As an anecdote you said, kind of shows. It's either there are if you mandate that businesses have to provide X benefit for their employees, um, those things tend to affect the younger people more.
Mm. That being said, I mean, an employer actually has incentive to hire younger people because their insurance premiums would theoretically be lower.
Hmm.
At the same time, I mean, I guess the point is like people need basic things. That's what I'm gonna stick by here. Is like one day off a week. It doesn't mean that there's less jobs going around for everybody. I assume what your argument is that like if the store doesn't need to be open Sunday, then maybe they don't need to hire that extra person to work the shifts. But in the end, people like it doesn't. I don't think that equates. I don't think that works because Germany's got one of the most productive workforces in the world. So by giving people a break, you're ensuring you have a more productive workforce. Just a little, like one
Well, I'm not
day.
saying that giving people a break is a bad thing. And I know several people in retail, who typically they'll get 2 days off a week. If it's Christmas time or Black Friday, you're not getting off.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's ridiculous.
but the question is that the question is not. Well, the question is not. I'm not arguing that people shouldn't have days off during the week, or shouldn't have a good standard of living. What is the method for attaining that?
The
Is
government.
it is it Yeah, I think that's should we should we have people rely on their jobs or where they work? for those services, or should they get it from government services?
Well, no. But
Um,
for if we're talking about the days off, uh, like that is something that the government should be playing a role in, because we've seen illustrated over decades that American companies are not willing to consider the humanity of their employees and give them adequate time off.
well, okay, not what study out there, okay, rephrase it a little bit better, like
Yeah.
considering the humanity of their employers. What sort of study proves that American, what sort of study out there, proves that, maybe we don't get as much time off. Americans don't get as much time off as other places, but as other countries, but
The American worker is
um,
incredibly productive. I'll give you that, but there are more productive workforces in the world. And I hate to keep harking back to Germany, but it is a more productive workforce that gives people adequate time off. And what I'm saying is that there is a correlation, at least, between the productivity of the workforce and their ability to have a little bit of respite from work. And that's, I mean, that's something that can be statistically shown, the productivity of workforces.